As the industry came under increasing congressional scrutiny, public relations moved to the top of the association's agenda. The leadership of the ACB worked with their customers and adopted a far-reaching set of standards entitled Policies to Protect Consumer Privacy. These very policies became the foundation of ideas that Wisconsin Senator William Proxmire used in authoring the Fair Credit Reporting Act, which took effect on April 25, 1971.
He had scored a triple play, that there had been a win for the consumers, a win for the credit reporting industry, and a win for credit grantors in the passage and signing of the Fair Credit Reporting Act.
With the first hearings on credit reporting, the association once again underwent its own transformation. ACB of A changed its name to Associated Credit Bureaus. ACB continued to serve its members through innovative programs.
Our largest service, of course, is the Trade Verification Service, or TVS.
In 1973, ACB created the Trade Verification System, which assured manual credit bureaus would have access to the automated data coming in from national creditors. This enabled these manual bureaus to stay in business until they could automate. In 1974, the first ACB certification exam was introduced in an effort to professionalize those who worked in credit reporting.
From Washington.
Meanwhile, another segment of the market that ACB members were very involved in started getting some attention. The collection industry had a few high-profile cases which had tarnished the reputation of the industry. ACB worked with Congressman Frank Annunzio of Illinois and the leaders of Congress to pass a bill that, like the FCRA, would set some uniform operating standards for the industry. On September 20, 1977, President Carter signed into law the FDCPA.
President Carter invited the congressman who had led the fight for the bill to the signing ceremony in the Rose Garden.
Like with the FCRA, ACB once again conducted seminars across the country to educate members about compliance with this new law. The decade of the 80s was a time of enormous change in the industry. Computerization helped drive the centralization of lending decisions to national centers. This shift led to the emergence of the three largest credit reporting systems in the world: Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion.
From 1970 through today, everything happened. The law came into being, automation came into being, credit grantor consolidations came into being, 2 different amendments to the Fair Credit Reporting Act happened all that time. And it's probably just an amazing period of time to have been in the business.
In recognition of the importance of mortgage lending, ACB also added a mortgage reporting division to its membership. The association's members led discussions about the effects of automated underwriting with the secondary market and mortgage lenders, and sought to ensure fairness and balance in the marketplace. In 1988, continued industry consolidation and a significantly expanded credit market led to oversight hearings in Washington, D.C. The association's leadership had anticipated this increased scrutiny, and in order to be closer to the legislative and regulatory center of the country, moved its headquarters to Washington, D.C. in 1991.
We were positioned to be in the right place at the right time, to be the voice for our industry, and to ensure that law was something that embraced who we were and embraced and endorsed the credit reporting system and the consumer data industry that we represent today, rather than to constrain it.
It was probably the smartest move in terms of geographical location the association has ever made.
Once we got to Washington, we were right in the midst of the Fair Credit Reporting Act amendments and the legislation, and trying to coordinate the interests of the 3 major systems that we represented.
The debate over how best to update the FCRA intensified, and the association's members were the focus of hearings, bill introductions, and media coverage. Industry responded as it had in the past by launching several new consumer initiatives. In September 1996, ACB members' progressive and balanced views prevailed, and new legislative language was adopted by Congress which updated the FCRA.
Congress enacted many of our voluntary initiatives, put those into the law. I think that's about the strongest endorsement you can have.
Many might have thought an 8-year battle over FCRA had resolved any issues dealing with credit reporting, but that was not to be. The advent of the Internet helped catalyze the debate over data privacy. Identity theft also drove policymakers to evaluate uses of personal information.
We recognized years before I think the Congress or state legislatures did that identity theft was a concern. Our members proactively and progressively put together a series of voluntary programs to address the types of consequences consumers experienced.
In 2002, ACB once again transformed itself and now became the Consumer Data Industry Association.
CDIA is mortgage reports, CDIA is credit reports, CDIA is check verification, we are fraud prevention, we are public records databases. Our members are the largest criminal records database providers in the country.
CDIA's members continue to change, and many of its largest have become global. CDIA has changed along with them. It provided guidance to the Department of Commerce in their negotiations with the European Union regarding transborder data. CDIA also increased its international presence by partnering with the European Trade Association of Credit Bureaus to organize the first ever global conference on credit reporting in 1998. The cultural underpinning of American society has always put a premium on individual freedom and the opportunity to better one's life. Credit reporting is the vital linchpin in the credit machine that drove the American economy by making credit affordable. CDIA and its members helped create wealth and a standard of living that could not be dreamed of at the turn of the century.
When you think about all that's been done on a continuum between 1906 and 2006, maybe the one thread that is common is that this trade association is obligated and has been successful in establishing a context for members to come together and think about themselves not as individual businesses, but as an industry.
With all the advances and innovations our industry has been part of, there is one constant that has never changed: the people. Those pioneers in the industry that had the foresight to understand the impact it would have on the lives of consumers. Those leaders who early on recognized the need for uniform reporting and operating procedures. Those innovators who sought to move from a manual process of keeping records to an automated format. Those individuals who understood the value of setting voluntary standards for the betterment of consumers and building shared technologies that addressed consumer issues. A business can add structure and form to the market, but it's the people within that business who are its soul, who bring it to life. It is the people who create the culture history will remember. The Consumer Data Industry Association has been fortunate to have members who have left a cultural and financial legacy in the American economy that is second to none, and people who had the vision to create an industry for the future. If past is prologue, then tomorrow looks to be very exciting indeed. CDIA's members truly empower economic opportunity.